Hello to you. I do hope you're well. Welcome to this teaching tip for classroom excellence. I'm Wardle, and today's tip is to circulate around your classroom. So this is a great way to get your steps in, but it's also a great way to add energy to your teaching and to demonstrate that you own the room and that you command the room, which is really important for your behaviour management. So let's get started, shall we? And this technique is all about strategically moving around your classroom during all parts of the lesson. It's really important that at all times, throughout your lesson, you are constantly moving around the classroom so that there is no area of your classroom that you don't actually travel to. And, the reason we do this is because it adds energy to your teaching, so it makes your teaching much more dynamic, but it also demonstrates that you own the room and allows you to observe what every student is doing. So students need to know that you own the room. You are the teacher, you are the authority in the room, and that it is therefore normal for you to go anywhere you want in your classroom at any time. We spoke about this, didn't we, when we spoke about thresholding and meeting and greeting every student at the door. It's really important that we are sending these signals to students that we are the teacher and that they are sat in our classrooms. And so by circulating around the classroom, by strategically moving around your classroom, you send that signal, you send that message to students that this is your classroom, and so your instructions need to be followed and your expectations need to be met. And so, the way to think about it is by thinking no area of your classroom is off limits for you. You must be able to simply and naturally stand next to any student in your room at any time and be able to easily get anywhere within your room without interrupting your teaching. And that's why it's important that students have got their bags under their desks, so that you can walk down any aisle and you can move to any area in your classroom without, as I say, any interruption to your teaching. So that when you are talking, when you are delivering an instruction, for example, you can seamlessly and effortlessly move to any area of the room as you do so. And, students will get used to that. They will very quickly understand that that is how you teach, that you could appear in any corner of the room at any time. And so it is important for them to be doing the right thing, to be following your instructions and meeting your expectations at all times. So here's how to do it. Make sure that when you've started your lesson, you start circulating within the first 5 minutes. So, for example, while students are doing the do now or the starter activity, because that shows from the very beginning of that lesson that you own the room and that there are no blind spots in the room. And so my advice is to position yourself in different places around the room at different times, keep moving about. And, as I say, it's a great way to get your steps in, but it's also a great way to add some energy to your teaching. Now, it is important to remember that when you're doing this, you don't want to end up turning your back to any students in the room, So if you are moving down an aisle, if you are moving to a different area of the room, which of course we want to be doing, make sure you are conscious and make sure that you are facing as much of the class as possible. Your body language and your positioning really does matter when you're doing this. So, please do make sure you're going down the aisles, that you're moving all around the room, but always be conscious that you want to be facing as many of your students as possible when you are doing that. And I think one of the best times to circulate is, of course, when you have asked students to independently complete an activity. So when they're actually doing some writing, they're answering a question, they're doing some independent practice. Because, of course, this is really important so that you can check for understanding and so you can ensure that all students are engaging with the task. So when you do circulate while students are working, make sure you are engaging. So you could use non-verbal engagement. So you might, for example, give students a thumbs up if you can see they're making good progress as you walk past. So you don't need to say anything, you're just giving them a thumbs up or a big smile to signal to those students that you're happy with the work you've seen, and that of course will encourage them to keep working. Or you could actually make this more of an event. So you could use the read and review strategy, which is where as you circulate around the room, you actually stop and you make a point of reading what a student is working on. So you might read over their shoulder, of course, or you might actually take their book from them and read it standing next to them. Because of course that is a great opportunity for you to check for understanding, which is really important, but it's also a great opportunity to send a powerful message to the class that you are circulating and that you are checking their work. And that reminds students that they need to be fully engaged at all times. You know, in the same way that when you're delivering an instruction, you expect them to be fully focused on you. You expect that when they're asked to do a task, they are fully focused on that task. And if students know that you are going to be moving around and checking, no matter where they're sat in the room, that means there is no opt-out. There is no opportunity for students to think, I don't need to do this. I don't need to worry about it because they're not going to check my work or they're not going to come to me for an answer. Every student in that room needs to be working and putting in 100% effort. And circulating is a great way to ensure that, because it reminds every single student in that room, no matter where they're sat, that they need to be working hard, they need to be trying their absolute best. And when you are doing this read and review strategy, you might like to obviously read the work and then add a comment about it. So you might be really positive in terms of, you know, identifying something they've done well, and you might say that out loud, you know, great work, Joel, I really like your, and then be really explicit about something they've done well, so that then other students who are working might think, oh yes, I need to include that. Or you might, you know, tell them something they need to add. And again, that doesn't only benefit the students whose work you're reading, but it benefits all the students in the room, because then they as well think, oh, that's what Sir's looking for. I need to make sure I include that as well. So, you know, Circulate is really powerful. It is a really great technique to incorporate into your teaching. Make sure you're not static. Don't be glued to the spot, or don't restrict yourself to a certain area of your room. You know, a great way to do this as well, or a really helpful way to do this, is to have a clicker for the interactive whiteboard, so that you can move the slides on, or you can, you know, keep moving through the PowerPoint from anywhere in the room, because that then frees you from being stuck to your laptop or your computer. So you then can actually, you know, go out, go rogue around your classroom, so that, you know, as I say, you can add that energy to your teaching, and you can signal to your students that you are checking what they are doing, no matter where they are sat in that room. And remember, Circulate is all about sending a message that students are in your room, that you own the room, and therefore they need to be following all your instructions, and they need to be meeting all of your expectations. I hope you have found that interesting. Thank you for joining me, and make sure you subscribe for more teaching tips.